Lovelies! Welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Maria and today's video is going to be just to do bookish things with me. So first up we're going to be going book shopping as always, so I'll take you along with me as we do that. Then I'll be looking at some of the books that I've read recently and probably do a little bit of an unhaul. I'm trying to be better at kind of unhauling books as I go along. If there's books that I think I'll never reread again, or if I rated them kind of 3.5 star, 3 star, unless they're part of a bigger series and I'm wanting to continue with the series, I probably will be trying to unhaul those as I go along. I do also want to refresh my TBR card to take off some of the more spring and summer leaning books and get some of the more autumnal books on there as well, and just give it a bit of a refresh because I feel like the same books have been on there for quite some time. Then other than that, I'm not too sure. I may try and do my reading journal, but not too sure if I'll definitely get it done in the time that I have before I need to get this video up, so we'll see. We'll see if I'm able to get to that one, but as I say, it'll just be a good doing bookish things video, taking you along with me while we do that. But first up will be the book shopping. I have already been book shopping, but I'm going to insert some b-roll of me going, and then when we come back I'll go through the books that I ended up picking up. Okay, so as you can see, I may have done some damage, but in my defense this wasn't all one book shopping trip. I did actually do a couple of trips to Waterstones, but still think I done a good bit of damage here. So I ended up picking up 6 books, and the first book is by an author that I've really enjoyed before, and I'll just take the receipt out, and that is Silvia Moreno Garcia, and this one is called The Seventh Veil of Salome, and this one just sounded really intriguing. We're following basically in Golden Age Hollywood. We've got 2 actresses, one who's a bit unknown, one who's quite famous, and essentially the part of Salome within this movie is the part that everyone is vying for. It is given to this unknown actress, and the more famous actress is obviously aggrieved by that, starts kind of building up this vendetta against the other actress. But we do also have the POV from the Princess Salome, who the movie is based on as well, and I believe we're just going to be following their stories and maybe seeing how they intertwine. Be really intrigued kind of how they do align and what we get from this one. I know that with Silvia Moreno Garcia, she has kind of genre bending books, so I'm not sure if this is going to be more of her horror leaning or more of her fantastical leaning, but either way I'm really excited to read this one. I really love her writing. It's usually very lyrical in its prose, so it's one of the reasons I really enjoy it. But yeah, be really excited to pick this one up, and it actually sounded like it would be a great read for around this time of year. Then next up I picked up a bit of an outlier, but it's Dante's Inferno, and the reason I picked this up is because I have recently read Catabasis or Catabasis by R.F. Kuang, and this is kind of what it's based on, or at least it is inspired by some of this, and it's something that I've always had on my radar, but because it was a poem and things like that I just wasn't sure if it was going to be for me. But I ended up reading a little bit while I was in Waterstones and really liked this edition and this cover of it, so decided to pick this one up to give this one a go. It actually read quite more approachable than I expected it to, so I think it would be quite a quick read. It is quite short obviously because it is a poem, so I don't think it would take too long to read, but there's so many books that are kind of based on this and the kind of approach that descent into hell, and as I say, a lot of them are inspired by the work that was done within this poem, so thought it was about time to pick up the source material and read from this, because I usually do like stories that are kind of based on this and centre around that story. So yeah, decided to pick up this copy. Next up are a couple of books that I haven't heard anyone talk about, so I don't know if it's just that they're quite new or if they're just a bit underrated, but the first one is The Book of Heartbreak by Ova Soren, and the reason I picked this up is because it is blurbed by one of my favourite authors. So Laini Taylor said it's a true delight, and if Laini Taylor says it's good, I'm pretty much going to take her recommendation. But in this one we're following a young woman who has this curse upon her where her heart can break so many times. I think it's like 5 or 6 times or something like that. And if her heart breaks for a 6th time, she will end up dying. So she basically embarks on this journey to try and figure out the reasons behind this or how she can break this. And along the way she runs into a seer called Leon who is going to help her try and find the answers to that question. Obviously within their kind of discussions she maybe starts to feel some feelings for him, and obviously that is a danger to her. She only has one chance left with her heartbreak, and I'm guessing the story will go from there. So really intrigued about this one. Just sounded like it was going to be a really interesting premise, and sounds like it's going to be quite an epic romance as well. So be really intrigued to read this and see what I think of it. As I say, I don't know if it's just that it's pretty new, but haven't seen anyone talking about this one, so taking a bit of a chance on it, but trying to be a lot better at not maybe looking at Goodreads or just picking up popular books and looking for some of these hidden gems that we may be able to find. This next one is one that I did see in Waterstones, and it's called The Many Ghosts of Donahue Burns, and it's by Laura McLaughlin. And after I picked this one up I did realise it's actually by a local author, so really intrigued to read this one. The main reason I picked this one up is, I'm going to be completely honest, the cover. I just thought the cover was really pretty, so decided to pick this one up. I think this one kind of centres around a haunted hotel and there's ghosts there that aren't able to move on, and basically we're following a main character who tries to help them move on, and I'm guessing the story goes from there. But I think this one will have a lot of mystery and secrets that are going to be exposed. So again, just perfect for this time of year, and a local author, so always wanting to support them as much as I can. And yeah, the cover just looked really like it was going to be my vibe, so again, be really excited to get into this one. Next up is a book that I have actually already read, but it's by one of my favourite authors, and that's T. Kingfisher, and it's Nettle and Bone. This was actually the first book I read from this author and kind of really sparked my love for her writing style and her storytelling. This is one of her more kind of dark fairy tale-esque stories. We follow Mara, who, after years of seeing her sister suffer at the abuse of a prince that she had to marry, ends up embarking on this journey to try and save her, and a whole lot of calamity kind of ensues as she goes along in that journey. She ends up getting these people who come along to help her, but it just had that kind of really fun and whimsical air about it when I read it, and as I say, it just made me really fall in love with T. Kingfisher's writing. So if you're looking for a good book to pick up from this author, I'd highly recommend this one. I give it 5 stars. The audiobook was really good for this as well. Definitely brought the characters to life and the story to life, so if you do enjoy audiobooks, I definitely recommend that as well. But just wanted to get a copy of this one to complete my collection because I have quite a few books from her now, so since this was the first one I read and I really loved it, I thought it was about time I had a physical copy. And then last up is In the Fiends of Drowning by Kaylee Cassidy, and this one I believe is centering around sirens, and I'm not really sure too much else about it. I just heard it had some really lyrical and beautiful writing, and the story was really beautiful, and seen it recommended kind of having a bit of a moment on Bookstagram and BookTok and things like that. So I'm basically going into this one blind and just going by recommendations that I've seen on Bookstagram. But again, another reason I kind of picked this up is because 2 of my favourite authors blurbed this as well, and I really love their kind of more gothic leaning stories, so hoping this is going to give the same vibes. But Rachel Gillig said it's an absolute riptide of a book, and then Ava Reid said it ensorcelled her from the very first page. So again, their writing is usually quite gothic and dark, so hoping that this is going to be within that same vein, and I'll end up really loving it because of that. So yeah, those are the 6 books that I ended up picking up when I was out shopping in Waterstones. As I said, it was a couple of trips, but both were from Waterstones, and you can definitely tell it is the spooky and autumn season because it's definitely a bit of a theme when I'm looking at what I'm picking up. But I'll read these at any time of the year. It doesn't necessarily have to be autumn. This is definitely my kind of vibe, so really happy with all of those, and hopefully when I'm doing my TBR cart organisation I can get these on there and maybe get them on the TBR over the next couple of months. The next thing I will do probably will be my TBR cart reorganisation. I'll maybe do that either later today or tomorrow, so I'll jump back on once I'm ready to do that. But basically I'm just going to be going through my big TBR shelf, just putting out anything that I think I want to read over the next few months, and then swapping out some of those more summery and spring reads. So yeah, I'll jump back on once I'm ready to do that. Hi lovelies. Okay, so full transparency, it's probably been about 5 days since I filmed that last clip, so didn't quite get onto this as quickly as I thought I would, but we are here to tackle this TBR cart and basically just give it a bit of a rejig, give it a bit of a refresh. I feel like some of the books that have been on here a really long time, and I don't know about you, but when I'm looking at the same books over and over again, for some reason it just makes me not want to read them. So I think what I'm going to do is go through this and go through some of the more summery books, maybe spring summer books that I know I'm not going to lean towards this time of year, and get some of my more autumn and winter reads on here, so that when I'm picking my TBR I feel like my selection is more fitting to my mood, so that hopefully it should be easier to pick my reads. I do have my kind of 10 priority reads for the autumn. I'm going to keep those separate. I'm not going to put those on the cart. I think I'll keep those in a separate pile so that I don't forget about them and put them in the back of the cart or something like that, because I do want to prioritise those. But just for the picks that I'm going to be picking in and around those, I'm going to try and rejig this a bit so that it's a bit more fall and winter appropriate. So just even looking on this first top shelf, I've got things like The Teller of Small Fortunes, Watermoon, and then I've got A Fragile Enchantment by Alison Saft, The Stardust Faith, and Feybind I think is probably one of those ones that doesn't really have a season that it suits, but just with this cover it's kind of making me think of spring, so I'm going to take that off as well. I do have A Language of Dragons, and I believe this is actually supposed to be a bit of a dark academia, so I think because of that I think I'll keep it on the cart because it could be fitting for this time of year. I have A Treachery of Swans by A.B. Poranek, and again I think that's quite gothic, I think it's sapphic, I think it's quite dark fairy tale-esque. Could be good for this time of year. And then I've got The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, and I do want to read this one, but am I realistically going to pick up this 6-book series or whatever it is anytime soon? Probably not. I'm going to take this off. I'm going to take this off the TBR cart because this is one that I'll jump onto as soon as I'm ready to start it, but I don't think I'm ready to start a 6-book series anytime soon. So yeah, I'll take that off for now. Then looking at the back here, I've got The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarifi, and I think I'll take that off because again it's set at sea. That to me just feels more summery. The Final Strife, I'm not too sure about this one. I do have the entire series, but I'm not too sure of where this is set or anything. I have a feeling this is maybe set in a bit more of a warmer climate, so it might be better for spring or summer, so I think because of that I'll take this one off as well. Then I have The Will of the Many and The Devils, so this one is by James Islington, this one is by Joe Abercrombie. Again, I think these are probably really good autumn and winter reads, so I'll keep both of these on, but as you can see I've basically removed most of the top shelf there. I'm probably just going to go through the rest of the shelves and pick out what I think doesn't really fit for this season. We'll go through some of those and then I'll look at my TBR shelf and see if there's anything on there that I want to get onto this TBR cart. Okay, so I ended up taking off quite a few from the TBR cart. I won't go into these in any detail, but I took off The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love. I just think this is going to be a good little spring or summer read. Then I took off 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I think this one is one I'll just pick up when I'm in the mood for it. It's a bit more of a classic, and again I kind of reach for those more in the spring and summer months, so decided to take this off. I've got I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman, Ariadne by Jennifer Saint, Lonely Castle in the Mirror. Now this one I wasn't too sure because I'm not too sure on the vibes of this one. I feel like it's going to be more of a spring summer whimsical read, but if you've read this and it has more dark themes, definitely let me know because I would like to read this one, but maybe I'm miscategorizing it in terms of the vibes that it gives, so let me know if you've read this one. I then took off 12th Night by Alexine Farrell Falmouth. That's actually Olivia Blake's kind of other entity, essentially. It's a YA romance, so again it's one I'll probably just pick up when I'm in the mood for it. I then took off The Magician's Daughter by H.G. Parry. I do have a H.G. Parry on my TBR for the autumn, but this one looks like it's going to be more of a spring or summer read, so I'll keep it for then. As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow, I took this off just because I do think I lean more towards this literary fiction genre more in the spring and summer, so hopefully, I was meant to get to it this spring and summer, but I'm hoping this is one I'll get to early in the spring next year. Similar reasons with Intermezzo, just don't think I'm going to pick it up anytime soon. Six Crimson Cranes, again, just more of a summery read. Inanna, I think this is kind of a folklore or mythological retelling, and I think just with the vibes I'm going to get for this one's probably a better spring summer read. Hello Beautiful, I've already said about literature fiction. I think this is going to be more of a spring read for me. And we have another one with My Year of Rest and Relaxation. And then the last one is Psyche and Eros. This is a Greek myth retelling, which again I just tend to read more in the spring and summer, and then the rest of the hardbacks that I've already gone through, so we do have quite a lot of space on the cart now for me to pick out a few from the stacks on my shelves, and then I'll have to place these back into my overall TBR, but I'll just go through the shelves, see if there's anything I want to pull out from there. We'll go through some of those books and then we'll get them back on the cart.
Little when the sun goes down, We could walk this autumn town, find a place to be alone, look into your eyes.
Okay, so I ended up picking up quite a few books from the shelf, so again I'll go through them quite quickly. I'm not going to go into detail on all of these, but replaced the Alison Saff that I had on here with A Dark and Drowning Tide. A bit more fitting for the season, and I have wanted to read from Alison Saff before, so hopefully I'll get to this year. I then have Immortal Consequences by Ivy Marie. I think this is Dark Academia. It is quite recent, and a lot of people have been saying how good it is, so want to keep this out on the TBR card so that I hopefully pick it up. I then have Rouge by Mona Awad. I really enjoyed her book Bunny, so want to continue reading from her backlog. Then I have A Multitude of Dreams. I think this is quite gothic. Haven't really heard anyone talking about this one before, but sounds like it's going to be a perfect autumn and winter read. Then a few more recent purchases is Dreams Lie Beneath by Rebecca Ross. Love her writing, so really wanted to get this on the cart. As I was mentioning, I have A Far Better Thing by H.G. Parry. Really loved the book I read from them before, so The Scholar and the Last Fairy Door. Really enjoyed it, gave it 5 stars, so hoping this is going to be a repeat for that. I've then got The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. I've got The Unmarked Witch by Miranda Lynn. I've got The Children of Gods and Fighting Men by Shauna Lawless. She's a local author, and I've heard this is actually a really great fantasy series, so be really excited to read this one. I've got The Demon King by Cinda Williams Chima. I think this is a bit of an older one. Again, haven't heard a lot of people talk about this, but the people that I have heard talk about it said it was really good. Bitterthorn by Kat Dunn. I think this is Dark Academia. Either way, it's definitely more suited to this time of year. I've got The Devil Makes Three by Tori Bobolino. I have read her My Throat and Open Grave, and recently, I think it's just under a different name, she released The Second Death of Locke. I'm actually currently reading that one and loving it. It's so good. So definitely want to pick this one up. I've got The Ninth Rain by Jen Williams. This is an author I have quite a few of her books on my TBR, but haven't read from her before, and this just gives off fall and winter vibes. I've then got The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison. I then took off King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo, and I haven't finished this in the kind of Shadow and Bone series. I haven't read The Last Geology, and kind of think that wintertime would be a good time to read this one, so gonna add the first book to the TBR cart. I then have The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne, and also Middle Game by Shannon Maguire. So that's all the books added to the cart. I have left myself a little bit of room on here just in case I want to add any new purchases that I really want to read quite quickly, or just anything else that comes to mind that I maybe hadn't thought of. And again, I do still have the 10 books that I picked out as my priority TBR, so I have quite a lot to get through, but I just like that this is now a bit refreshed. Some of these books I haven't looked at in quite some time, so hoping it's going to kind of entice me to pick them up a little bit sooner. But yeah, really glad I ended up doing that. I will insert a little overview of kind of what the cart's looking like now, the options that are on there, and definitely think just looking at it, it definitely is giving me much more fall and winter vibes, whereas before it was definitely very summery and it was kind of off-putting when I was trying to pick my TBR. So really happy with that. Hopefully that will make picking my TBR a lot easier, and as I say, will entice me to pick up some of these reads that I maybe have forgotten about over the last couple of months. Not sure what we're going to be doing next in this video. I may do a bit of an unhaul because I may go through some of my physical TBR, see if there's anything else I want to get rid of. But as I say, mostly it will just be books that I've read recently that I either didn't enjoy or might have enjoyed, but I know I'm never going to reread them. So it'll either be that or I may do my reading journal. Depends on what I have time to get up to. But whatever that may be, I'll pass you ahead to future me, who will give you an update on what we're doing. Hi lovely, so I'm just sitting down to do my reading journal, and I've actually come to the realisation that I'm a little bit more behind than I thought I was. For some reason I thought I'd done up until the cover page of September, and turns out I've only done up until August, so I've got a bit more to catch up on than I had anticipated, but just going to sit here for a couple of hours and get this updated. Hopefully it shouldn't take me too long to get up to that, at least the October starting page, but I was hoping to kind of get October and maybe get a bit of the templates done, but I don't think I'll be getting that much done today. But as I say, hopefully it won't take me too long to get up to at least the October cover page, because yeah, for some reason I had it in my head I was up until September, but a little bit more behind than I thought, so may not get to that October landing page today, but we'll see what I can get through. I do have a couple of hours free here, so hopefully I'll be able to get that completed. But yeah, just gonna sit here, try and get this updated, see how much I can get done, and the aim is to try and get to the October cover page, so let's see how much we can get done. Okay, so it's the next day. Let's do a little flip through of what I got done. So as I said, the last spread that I actually done was my August spread. So this was already done from the last time. So the first spread I ended up doing is my reading log for August, as well as the 3 top books of the month. Then I just do my monthly stats, and again, sticking with the scrapbook kind of theme. I really enjoy doing this, and it's easier than trying to kind of do art myself, but I always really love the way that these pages come out. Then next up we started September, so starting to get a little bit darker with the theme here, but I decided to go with the baby blue. Baby blue was my grandmother's favourite colour, and her birthday was in September, so decided to go with that theme for this month. So again, my first pages are always just kind of going through my priority TBR, if I'm reading any of my 25 for 2025, which I'm not this month, and then any of my goals, and then any of the buddy reads I'm doing as well. And then again, just have the reading log, my top 3 books of the month, and these are some of my favourites of the year. Actually, I had a really good month in September. And then again, my monthly stats and everything I went through that month. And then the next spread is a bit of a jump scare because it does go quite dark because we're going into October. I want to do a bit of a spooky theme here and use some of my more spooky kind of scrapbook stuff as well. And there's not really many months that I could probably use this. I'll probably use this in November as well and stick with this darker theme. But really happy with the way this came out. I think it looks really spooky, kind of dark academia mixed with a spooky vibe. So yeah, that's the last spread I've done. I do need to obviously do my reading log, but I usually do that at the end of the month. Once I finish reading, I can update it all and put in all of my stats and everything. So yeah, that's the last spread that we done. Really happy I managed to get it all done in one night and got myself up to date. It definitely feels really good. Okay, so the last thing I want to do with you in this video is quite a substantial unhaul actually. I was looking through my piles and realised how big this actually was. So the first book I've got in this pile is an absolute favourite I had this year, but I think I mentioned it in my haul video when I got this one. This is actually slightly damaged from Fairy Loot, just very slightly on the corner there, so I ended up getting a replacement. So this is basically just a duplicate, so I don't need this one, so I'm going to be unhauling this copy and just putting it on Vinted probably for a pretty good price. It is a little bit damaged, so again, as I say, I'll be putting it on cheap there, and I got a replacement, so hopefully someone will be able to avail of this one. I then have Girl, Goddess, Queen and The End Crowns All by Bea Fitzgerald. I read this one in my Read It or Get Rid of It video and just didn't love it. I think it was like a 3.25 or something like that, and I'm not really interested in reading on, so I know there will be people who have been searching for these edges because they are beautiful books. So again, probably pop these on Vinted and see if anyone wants to pick them up. Again, this is another favourite read for me, so When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I ended up getting the edition from Page and Wick, which is absolutely beautiful, and I had like 3 editions, so I sold my Fairy Loot edition and I have this Waterstones edition as well. I just don't need multiple copies of some of these books, so I'm going to put this again on Vinted and let it go to another home. I then have King of Battle and Blood and Queen of Myth and Monsters by Scarlett Sinclair. Again, read King of Battle and Blood, well, I DNF'd it at around 40%, but just wasn't for me for whatever reason. It was a lot more spicy than I was anticipating, and I just didn't really get gripped by the story at that point, so I'm going to let these go. And again, I think the covers have changed of these, so there may be people who are looking for these older covers. I'm pretty sure these are out of print, so I'm sure these will make someone else really happy. Next up, I've got my paperbacks of Legendborn and Bloodmarked, and I'm just going to let these go because I do have the special editions from Illumicrate now, and quite honestly the font is really small in these and I've never read from these, and I think if I ever want to reread, I've got my hardbacks there and I've got these on Kindle as well, so don't really need to hold on to these. I may put these on Vinted, or I may just donate them to my local library because I would love for someone else, especially young people, to pick this series up. Really good, so don't think it's the type of book that my local library would normally have, so I may end up just donating this one. And then lastly, which is kind of most of the chunk of that pile, I've got 3 hardbacks of the Crescent City series, so these are just kind of your standard but maybe first editions or something like that, but I've got multiple hardback editions of these from Fairy Loot and Illumicrate, and then I've got multiple paperbacks. I just don't need these and they take up a lot of room, as you can see, so again, I'm sure there's someone out there that's been looking for these hardbacks and hasn't been able to get them, so just going to pop them on Vinted and see if anybody else has been looking for them. So yeah, that's everything. There's quite a few books there. Obviously that's given me a good bit of shelf space. If you're in the UK and you want to purchase any of these, I will put my Vinted in the description below and you can go and have a look. I do have a few other books on there. Generally, if it's just Fairy Loot books or books that I've read and I haven't enjoyed, I tend to put them on there, so there may be something you're interested in, but as I say, because it's Vinted, it's only the UK unfortunately, so if you're interested, go on and have a look. I should have most of these up within the next week or so, so keep an eye out on there if there's any that you're wanting. But yeah, that's basically it. That's everything I have for this video. It took me a little bit longer to complete this one to do the bookish things that I had been anticipating. I think I started this like mid-September, so I had a little bit later than I anticipated, but I hope you've enjoyed it. Definitely let me know if there's anything else you would like to see in these bookish videos. I don't want them to be too repetitive. I do most of these bookish things each month, but if there's anything in particular you would like to see, definitely put that in the comments below. And let me know what your kind of monthly bookish resets entail. What do you do? I would love to hear all of your kind of monthly rituals again in the comments below. But if you don't have anything to comment, just put a little book emoji to let me know you got to the end. If you like this video, do remember to give it a like. And if you want to see more from me, remember to subscribe. I post 2 videos per week and it's videos like this. So bookish resets, book shopping, TBR jars, all good bookish things like that. Other than that, thanks so much for watching this one. I hope you enjoyed it and I'll see you in the next one soon. Bye!